Hey everyone, it's Lucy Fink. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm taking you on a quick tour of my houseplants and showing you what we have growing here in our apartment. As you might know, Michael and I have lived here for over a year, so when we moved here from our last apartment, we did bring a lot of our plants with us. But since being here, I've had a total new obsession with plants and greenery, so we've also accumulated a lot of new plants since moving in. Also, we're not only growing houseplants, but I've become obsessed with growing things like fruits and vegetables, so we have a couple of indoor gardening setups in the kitchen and the entryway. So our space is definitely getting really green. My thumb is starting to get really green and I'm getting pretty good at taking care of plants. If you've seen my recent video, you'll know I made a plant propagation wall. So in this video, I'm gonna take you on a tour of that and show you how it's doing and how the roots are forming. It's pretty incredible. And yeah, let's start right here in my office because this is really where I like to have a lot of greenery. I work in this space all day and the more greenery, the better. So first things first, I have these 4 plants that are lined up on the windowsill. 2 of them are snake plants and one is a jade plant and the other I do not know the name of. So if you know what this is, please comment below. All 4 of these plants died throughout the coronavirus pandemic. When Michael and I left the city for about 6 months, all these plants died. And thankfully, once we got home and I started taking care of them again and I repotted a couple of them, they have completely come back to life and they are looking amazing. One of them does have a little bit of yellowing on one of the leaves and I can't really tell if that's caused from harsh sun exposure because it is facing direct sunlight or if it's from overwatering or underwatering. So if you know what that's from, let me know. But the snake plants are both looking so great. They're in the biggest pots I have and they've grown new shoots, so they have a lot of life coming out of them. They've grown really tall. I'd say this one is about 3 feet tall and this one's about 2 feet tall, and they just are looking so good. The leaves are really sturdy and strong, and I cut leaves off both of these and have been propagating 2 separate leaves in the propagation wall, and they're starting to grow roots, which is really exciting, meaning I can grow another snake plant down the line if I want to repot it. There's also a jade plant here. This was originally in a smaller pot, but I moved it to fill up this entire pot, so now it has more space. I'm also propagating a bit of the jade and it's doing pretty well. And in here you can see there's a lot of new growths. It's looking really bright green right now, and there are even some babies coming out of the soil, so that's very exciting. This mystery plant, I just don't know the name of it, but I'm pretty sure it's a pretty common plant. It almost looks like a cactus and it has these big, luscious, green, hairy leaves growing off the top that almost look like hair. This is, I think, the cutest, most visually appealing plant that I have. I just love looking at it. It looks like a cactus, but it has these big leaves on top and it's spiky on the bottom and it's doing so well. Every so often a leaf will fall off, but for the most part it's bright green and it's looking good. On the wall in these little units, I do have a couple of cacti that had some issues. If you follow me on Instagram, you might know I had one of these cacti where it was a moon cacti and the top was dead, but the bottom looked pretty good, so I dislocated the top and I replanted the bottom. So this one's just growing with no top on it and it looks pretty good. I mean, it's staying alive, but it's kind of a sad plant. And the other one, the top was looking better than the bottom, so I threw away and composted the rotten bottom and I've kept the top. But the issue is I think with these moon cacti, they need to be grafted onto a bottom, like a base. So I don't know if just planting the top in soil is doing anything. It's actually looking a little bit rotten right now. I'm probably going to just get rid of this top and just get a new moon cactus. The other greenery in this office is this air plant I got from my friend Marjolaine. It's huge and I soak it in water for 20 minutes every 2 weeks and I love it. And then there's a little succulent sitting on the desk. That was a gift from my friend Rose when she asked me to be her bridesmaid, and it's really cute. Just sits in a little pot, has a drainage hole at the bottom, and I love that too. The only other plants in here are actually dried flowers. I don't know if those are considered plants for my plant tour, but I will show you them. I have a couple of dried flower bundles hanging in these gold wall hangers. So this one's like more orangey, neutral fall tones, and then the other one's more purpley blue. And then these dried yellow flowers are some of my all-time favorites. I have them in a couple of different spots on the wall, and because they're dried, they're just sitting out in the air. They don't need water, and I think they're gonna last a really long time. I've already had them almost a year. And that is it for the office, so now let me take you out into the hallway and show you what else we have. All right, I'm out in the hallway and I take back what I said. This is actually the greenest spot of the apartment, so let me tell you what's going on around me. First of all, say hi to Michael. He's doing a little work from home. Starting in the little corner back there, that's where all the plants in the apartment started, and then they've slowly started branching out and filling up the rest of the space. But back there we have a money tree, which is not doing too well. To be honest, the entire money tree died and all the leaves fell off, and now it's just starting to come back to life. The leaves are starting to look green again, and it does have a little baby growth on it, which is exciting. And next to it, we have our pancake plant, which is robust and doing really well. It's bright green, it has a couple of different shoots, and I'm also propagating 2 pieces of it right behind me here. Sitting next to that plant is just a little container of water with a couple of, I don't even know what they are. My mom gave them to me, but I put them in the water to see what would happen, and they formed intense roots, and I just kind of like looking at it, so I leave it sitting there. Then this shelf system is one of our favorite aspects of the interior design that's going on in the apartment, and there's mostly succulents on this. So I do not know the name of all the succulents, but I'm gonna show you. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants that sit on this shelf. Oh, and of course, another little yellow dried flower, my favorite dried flower. These plants pretty much take care of themselves. I do probably water them more than I need to because I really like taking care of plants. I'm like an over-ambitious plant parent, but they've all done really well. This moon cactus looks really good, and these are just incredible. They haven't actually shown any sign of dying or falling off or drying up or getting overwatered, so I'm pretty proud of how I've done there. Now onto the water propagation wall. So you've seen this on my channel. I made an entire video about this plant propagation wall a little while ago when we were first assembling it, and now it is set up and the roots are taking hold. So I just want to show you what it looks like with all the roots because it's pretty amazing. The snake plants took a little longer than expected, but they started growing roots, and these are really thick roots, so they look really good. The money tree took the longest to grow roots. I think it was because it wasn't actually touching the water at first. I cut a really short piece of it, but once I got it to stay in the water, the roots grew really quickly and they're really strong and really thick. The pancake plants look great. Those are the plants that grew roots first, and they just probably have the most roots of anything on here. A couple of the succulents that are looking really good are this one, which I cut off of this little succulent tray that I keep in my kitchen, and I'll show you soon. This little piece from the shelving unit looks really good and has intense roots growing out of it and is starting to grow new green growths on the top. This is the jade plant I told you about, and the roots are definitely starting to form there. Here are some more of those little twiggy things that we keep by the windowsill, and they're doing well here as well. And then this viney plant that I actually took from a New York City restaurant outdoor dining bin. The owner of the restaurant let me clip a little piece to propagate, and it's doing so well. And it's also starting to get new growths on the tip, so that's really exciting. So pretty much everything here is doing well with the exception of these 2 plants. So this was a gift from a friend, and it's just not taking hold and starting to grow roots. I'm not sure if it's just not water propagation friendly. And then this one from the shelf is also not starting to grow roots, and it's possible, you know, some succulents just can't grow in water, so it's possible this is just not propagable. All right, so that's the water propagation wall, and now I want to tell you about this Rise Garden. This is the most exciting thing that is going on in our apartment so far. I'm sitting in front of a legitimate jungle where we're growing tomatoes, peppers, lavender, cucumbers, eggplant. We've grown lettuces at different times. I had arugula, basil. There's currently thyme and sage in here. It's just so exciting. And I went through this whole stage throughout coronavirus where I decided that I wanted to start growing food indoors, and we got this Rise Garden, and now we are growing food indoors. So it's an intense process. I've been tracking it on my Instagram. If anyone follows me on my Instagram, you'll know that there was a time when this entire garden looked the way the lavender looks right now, which is like tiny little baby sprouts. We actually started them out in a nursery, and we let them grow in the nursery first before transporting them into the hydroponic garden, but there's no soil in here, it's just water. There's an intensive root system going on the bottom. Every time I want to add water to it, I have to also add nutrients, and I take measurements using this intense measurement tool that measures the pH and a couple of other things about the water, like the temperature, and it tells me exactly which nutrients to add. It's a very intense gardening system, and the actual growths are so hardy and really thick. Like, there's a tree of tomatoes growing back here, and there are already a couple of little tomatoes on it. The pepper tree is just like a little tree. We are growing a little tree inside of this cabinet unit, and I think it's the cutest piece of interior decor. We put it up against this plant propagation wall, so now we have this entire green wall. Another option for you, if this is a little bit too big and intense, which I understand, is an AeroGarden, and so we have one of those in the kitchen. So let me take you in there. The AeroGarden back there is a better option for anyone who wants to grow fruits and vegetables indoors, but who doesn't want like an entire shelving unit. So this is a lot smaller. It sits on your countertop. You can choose what to grow in it, whether it's herbs or actual food. We are currently growing peppers and tomatoes, so pretty much everything here is either a tomato plant or a pepper plant. And this has grown so well. So as you can see, it's been planted for 67 days. It has a timer on it to count down when you need to add more plant food. It just soaks up the water really, really fast. So I do have to add water to this like every couple of days, but it grows incredibly well. Right now it looks a little sparse because I've been pruning it, which I think helps it grow better and helps to redirect the nutrients to the actual fruits and vegetables instead of just to the leaves. But it has been so rewarding to watch this thing grow, and we now have, I think, 10 little tomatoes that are starting to grow, and it's just so exciting. That's a little carrot. It's just an experiment. I decided to see what would happen if I put the carrot top in a little bit of water, and it's starting to grow incredibly fast. The carrot's not growing, it's the greens that are growing, and I'm pretty sure what you do is once this grows, it will then create seeds that you can replant to grow carrots. I don't know if I'm gonna get that far, but this has been a fun experiment. The only other plant going on in the kitchen is this succulent thing that I told you about that sits just opposite our kitchen windowsill, and one of these little flower things is what you saw in the propagation station over there. And now let me take you into the living room because we do have a couple of other plants in here, namely our Ficus Audrey. We ordered this on Bloomscape and it looks so good. It's doing really well. A couple of leaves did fall off in the beginning, but it is doing really well now. The leaves are looking pretty straight. They're not curling or anything like that. I do try my best with the Ficus Audrey to not get overly excited. If it was up to me, I would water this thing 10 times a day because I just love taking care of it, but that is not good for the leaves. So instead, I set a timer in my phone and I only let myself water it every couple weeks, and I make sure that the soil is actually really dry before I do water it. And the Ficus Audrey looks really good. And the last plant we have in the apartment is this snake plant, which sits by the windowsill, and it's just our third snake plant. It came in this really pretty speckled pot. It's doing really well. It gets some different light from the other snake plants, but it is doing really well. And the leaves are also really strong. I think one of these leaves might be the snake plant leaf that I cut off for the propagation wall. So that's it. Those are the plants that we're currently growing inside of our New York City apartment. Remember, this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, and we do have a lot more space than we did in our last apartment when it comes to growing and having room to put things like trees or indoor gardens. But I am still incredibly excited for my future when I don't live in an apartment and I do have outdoor space. As you know, I'm really excited to start composting and also just to grow way more in the ground. For now, these indoor gardens are doing an incredibly good job at satisfying my desire to grow things. I am looking forward to a time in the future when I can grow an entire outdoor garden and basically become a farmer. That's my dream and my goal for the future, is to be a farmer. Give this video a thumbs up if you like seeing inside of our apartment and seeing our plant tour. Let me know down in the comments below what plants you are currently growing at your home. I know that we currently have a lot of plants, but I am not closed off. I am totally open to getting more, so if you have any suggestions, drop them down below. And as always, let me know what other types of videos you want to see from me on this channel. See you next time, and I'm sending so much love from our New York City apartment to wherever you might be in the world. Bye.